Ray retired on a Friday. On Monday morning, he poured his coffee, watered his tomatoes, and never once checked what the market did overnight. It didn't matter. His daughter Kara works at that same company. But last night at midnight, she was lying in bed, frantically refreshing a balance on her phone, watching $4,000 evaporate while she was supposed to be asleep. If you read the financial headlines, retirement in America is booming. Vanguard recently released a report showing a record number of workers putting money into their plans, with the average account balance climbing to around $168,000. On paper, the machine is working perfectly, but that $168,000 average is doing something sneaky. The average adds everyone's balance together and divides by the number of people, which means it gets yanked upward by extreme outliers. It's like if you and I are standing in an empty room and Jeff Bezos walks in. On average, the three of us are worth about $70 billion each. If you want the honest number, you look at the median, the person standing dead center. The median retirement balance is not $168,000. It collapses down to roughly $44,000. The typical American is sitting on roughly a quarter of what the headline promised. This gap exists because modern workers were quietly handed a highly technical, unpaid second job as their own personal pension manager, without ever being asked if they wanted the role. Almost nobody knows the 401k was an accident. In 1978, Congress passed a boring tax bill and buried a small subsection inside it numbered 401k. It was meant to let corporate executives defer a slice of their bonuses from taxes. That was the whole ambition. By the 1980s, corporations realized this loophole could be used to entirely offload the massive financial liability of guaranteed pensions. They swapped the leather-bound ledger for a thin employee handbook, moving the risk of the future from the company's books to yours. Running a pension is a genuine profession. It takes people who calculate how long thousands of humans will live, decide exactly when to move money somewhere safe, and manage complex market cycles. That entire professional finance department was liquidated, and the job was handed to you, unpaid and untrained, on top of your actual career. You are now the fund manager and the risk department for a single client whose retirement depends on you not screwing it up between dentist appointments. This chart tracks sequence of returns risk, the quiet assassin of retirements. Picture two people who both retire with $500,000. The only difference is timing. The first person retires straight into a crash, while the second enjoys a few calm years of growth before that exact same crash lands. The first person is forced to sell shares at the bottom just to buy groceries. Because they are carving chunks out of a shrinking pile, the account never gets a chance to heal. They are flat broke by 78, while the second person dies with more than they started with. The second risk is the management fee. A 1% fee sounds like a harmless rounding error, but it is extracted from your entire balance every single year for 40 years, including all the growth you would have earned on the money it already took. Run the math on a career of saving, and a 1% fee devours roughly a quarter of your final nest egg. You took all the market risk and sweated through every crash, yet 25% of the reward walked out the door to pay for management you never met. The third risk is human behavior. When the market drops 20%, your brain screams to make the pain stop. The urge is to panic sell at the bottom and wait until it feels safe again, which is always after prices have already gone back up. Even if you ignore the noise, inflation is eating your account in silence. Over the last few years, prices in America went up 20%. If your balance held perfectly steady, your money quietly lost a fifth of what it can actually buy. Even the final safety net is shaky. Social Security trustees project the main trust fund will run short by 2033, which would trigger an automatic cut of roughly 20% across the board, unless Congress acts. These combined forces mathematically dismantle an individual's savings. The 401k is a fragile, high-risk job requirement. Your strategy depends on where you stand. For a worker in their 20s, a market crash is a coupon to scoop up shares cheap. But if you are 60, that exact drop becomes a crisis. Sequence of returns risk is your reality. Timing is everything. Then there is the largest demographic on the map, the 40% of Americans who have no retirement accounts at all. When retirement was rewritten from a corporate promise into a personal project, millions simply were never given the resources to start. Stop looking for a corporate villain to blame. You were handed the wheel of a bus doing 70 miles an hour. But because you hold the wheel, you decide where it goes. The first control lever is the employer match. If your company matches your contributions and you don't take it, you are turning down a 50 to 100% instant return. That is just a voluntary pay cut. Next, hunt down your fees and switch to a boring index fund charging basically nothing to stop the wealth drain. Finally, automate everything. Set your contributions to increase by 1% every year so your worst 2 a.m. instincts never get their hands on the wheel. The modern worker carries a massive risk burden their parents never did, but mastering these few boring controls ultimately grants you the power to build a larger, fully owned financial future.